Greetings, family. Welcome to the Sister Shanice Show. Yes, it is Wednesday, and as you know, on a Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT time, I go live and direct to the world. And it's always a pleasure, always an honor, and always a privilege, family, to be able to go live here on YouTube. So just check in to make sure that I'm actually coming through. Let's see if I can see the live on my phone. This is what I need to do just to double check. So welcome, family. Hopefully we are coming through live and direct. I'm just going to go to YouTube, just double check that I'm actually live, and then I can get the live link and start circulating it as well. Let's go over to Zoom and see if it's telling me that I'm live. Yes, it's saying YouTube live. So if I'm not coming in right now, I certainly will be popping up on YouTube anytime now. And once you get the link, family, please do share it. Please do let everybody know that we're live. I just want to welcome all of our subscribers, those of you who are regulars on this channel. Thank you so much for continuing to join us here on the Sister Shanice Show. Okay, where is my live link today? Okay, okay. Not finding it on YouTube, but yeah. Let me know if you are seeing us. Let me just double check down here. And yeah, looks like we're streaming live. So although I can't see the link right now, the live link should be coming through anytime soon. So, you know, delighted as always to have a special guest in the house. I've got a special guest today who's going to be joining me, and I am looking forward to her coming on board. Okay, yes, I can see I am there now, and I've got some viewers in the house. Thank you so much. I can actually see the live link, so that means we're good and ready to go. Hey. Oh, we've got a hot topic that we're going to be discussing today, family. I've got a special guest waiting behind the stage who's going to be coming forward very soon. So as I was saying, I want to thank all of my wonderful subscribers, every one of you. Thank you so much. Please do remember that I do have another backup channel. Should this channel go down, I have a backup channel. That one's called African World Affairs. So in YouTube, just do the @ Africa World Affairs, all one word, and my backup channel will come up. You'll need it just in case this one goes down, okay? I don't want to lose any of my wonderful subscribers, so make sure you do subscribe to the backup channel. To all my Patreon supporters, thank you so much. To all of you who share the links, share the live links, to those of you who participate in the chat, to all my regular supporters, more love, more strength to each and every one of you. To all my guests who have participated on my shows, the past guests, the present guests, and those yet to come, we thank you so much. We're going to be having a very serious conversation today. I've got a special guest, as I said, backstage, who's going to be coming forward anytime now, just giving them a few moments in the green room, so to speak. And I'm going to be sharing the link with those who like to just click on the live link and join us. Okay, so yeah, put the word out, let everybody know that we're live and we're getting ready to start the show. Okay, well, in fact, the show has already started because you are in the house. So let me know, family, where in the world you're actually viewing us from. And if you are aware of the topic that we're going to be discussing today, get ready to post your comments, your thoughts, and your views in the chat as well, okay? Because I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Okay, let me just check that my guest is ready backstage, because I'm ready to bring her forward. Let's just click that magic button. And my guest, who is also, my co-presenter on the Big G Galaxy Alpha Week, the only de-brainwashing station, my co-presenter, Sister Jasun Ray, is going to be joining me today for the conversation that we're going to be having about the death threat that was made to Diane Abbott, MP. Welcome, Sister Jasun Ray. How are you doing? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, a little bit of mishap there. My apologies. Thank you for the invitation, Sister Shanice. Yes, I am her co-producer, and we share the same community space, and it's an honor, as always, working with you, Sister Shanice. So thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored.
Thank you so much for accepting. And for those of you who don't know, Sister Jasun Ray and myself, we're like a tag team on the Big G Galaxy Our Fury, the only de-brainwashing station. We alternate on a Saturday. We do the community talk show on a Saturday. So one Saturday you've got myself, the next Saturday you've got just Sister Jasun Ray, and oh my gosh, as always, her shows are phenomenal. The way she unpacks things, the way she breaks things down. You're going to get a taste and you're going to get a flavor of her style tonight. So yeah, really excited about that. And yeah, to those of you who've been having challenges, reaching us over the last couple of strongs on the Big G Galaxy FB, we apologize profusely.
Definitely.
For the challenges and the problems you've been having. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, couple of strongs, but all being well, we're getting there. We've got a temporary link to those of you in the know. You've got the temporary link. To those of you who haven't, hang on in there. No, we've not disappeared. We're working away behind the scenes to get back live and direct, because wow, we have some powerful and important messages for the world, and it's important that the world hears the messages that we put through the Big G Galaxy after week. But without further ado, let me ask you, my beloved sis, to introduce yourself to our wonderful audience.
Well, greetings everyone. Greetings once again, Sister Shanice. Thank you for the honor of being here. And a little bit about myself. I'm a community development worker. So I have been doing that for a couple of decades now. I have a lot of interest in terms of community engagement and community empowerment. So I've worked in the area of education, and I've worked with young people in particular. The earliest part of my career was involved in empowering young people. So with that said, I then qualified to become a trainer. So I'm also a trainer, and I specialize in creating bespoke training courses as well as delivering licensed training courses. I have been doing that for the same duration because I think it goes hand in hand. When you're working in the community, it's about your capacity and ability to pass on information that's empowering. And often training is a very formal way of doing that, as you already know, Sister Janice, because you're a trainer in your own right. So a lot of my work is around delivering training. I've worked a lot in the voluntary sector. It's not the most lucrative, but I would say that it's very rewarding because it's about working with people at grassroots level. And I think that's what made me be very keen to take up the post as one of the community radio show hosts on the community talk show, because it's very much about engaging with our community, raising awareness about different activities of self-empowerment that's happening in our community. And often, and sometimes it seems more often than not, sharing very traumatizing information with our community and unpacking that with our community, which I don't do alone, because there are many others like Sister Shanice on the Galaxy platform that does exactly the same thing. It's just that we have different ways of delivering that message and interpreting that message. I deliver mental health awareness training courses, and I'm also soon to roll out Black awareness training courses. I also deliver a licensed mental health awareness training course, as well as delivering self-development awareness raising courses, which is about looking at how we can improve our lifestyle, our mental well-being. You know, I'm very keen on physical activity, and I do try to keep myself fit, although there's always room for improvement. And I'm always working at reducing intake of unwanted fat. But less said about that. And I think I started off my community development work in the southwest in Devon, and it was a real learning curve for me, especially being confronted with so much direct discrimination and outlanguished racism. Absolutely unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? I was party to a documentary done by the BBC many years ago called No Problems Here, which looks at the denial of racism, and the assumption was, especially at that time, that if Black people don't live in the environment, we don't have any problems here, when we all know that's quite ridiculous, to say the least. But nonetheless, and I, as a result of that, I established a training organisation and ended up delivering training to statutory services like the police, CID, probationary services. I trained all of Devon and Cornwall probationary services single-handedly over 18 months, 730 odd staff, white and Black alike. I trained them separately because I believe that there needs to be safe space for Black people, African Caribbean. And when I use the word Black here, we use it within a political context, because we know Black doesn't subscribe to any land. We are Africans. But for the use of so-called political speed, I will just use the term in that context. So, and my recent job, I was working as a manager for a charity who was about empowering and campaigning for the rights of pensioners. I think that's enough said. There's so much more, but I think that just gives you a flavour of my passion. I'm very passionate about race equality matters, as well as mental health and domestic violence, just to name 3 of my areas of interest. And at present, I forgot to mention, I'm also co-director for a museum without walls, and we're exploring the transatlantic slave trade and enslavement trade and its impact on the diaspora and in Southwest, Lewisham, to be specific. And I'm working with the local university, and I'm also a research fellow for that university as well. So, you know how it is, Sister Shanice, our work don't stop, and we have to be very, we have to spread our efforts across so many different areas of work. But the key theme always remained the same, which is about self-empowerment, fighting against discrimination, regardless of what intersectionality you may belong to, and fighting for our rights. And that's the theme that's permeated my motivation for all the different career or works that I've done. So thank you for that.
Well, we thank you. Absolutely phenomenal works, my sis. And, we can see that you have a heart. We just heard from all of that. You have a heart for our community. You put in so much work as well, all the training that you do to try and, uplift and motivate and, bring about the changes that you want to see. Absolutely phenomenal. So much work to do, because as we know, and as we talk about all the time on the Big G Galaxy After we try and look at the world through African lenses because, we've been indoctrinated into seeing the world from a Eurocentric perspective. And it's quite damaging to us as a people. And I don't think most of us realize the extent to which, a Eurocentric worldview is just so damaging to us as a people. And so, we have to then, try and build our own foundations again in terms of our culture, our spirituality, our identity, reclaiming our heritage and who we are, just so that we can be in that right mindset before we can even, go out and be as effective in the world out there. And so, because of our recent history in terms of enslavement and our continued fights for reparations, repatriation, etc., we're fighting on that level. And then within the organization, within the community, at large, we're having to fight racism. You was talking about the racism that, you personally experienced there that you haven't gone into. But this is part of a series of shows that I've been doing recently where we've been talking about, the people, Africans who were born in the UK or who grew up in the UK after maybe arriving in the UK when they were quite young, and their experiences. And if there's one common denominator and factor that's spread across all those shows, it's been the racism. And what we're hearing and what we're going to be talking about today is going to make us realize that the racism hasn't disappeared. And so if we're not properly grounded in who we are in terms of our identity, in terms of, our culture, and claiming, something of substance that we've got to hold on to, this country called the United Kingdom with its racism can actually, cause you mental harm, mental health. As we talked about, you work in the mental health sector, and a lot of our people are struggling and experiencing mental health these days because of, the confusion that there is out there about who we are and the abuse that we have to suffer and have been suffering as a people. And so we're going to be going into our topic quite soon. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to go over to our audience and see how they are as they come through the door. So let's go over to the chat and see who we've got in the chat. Oh, we've got a few family members in the chat. Absolutely fantastic. Rise up, rise up. We've got Zachary in the house. We've got Perry in the house from East London. We've got Global Green Book in the house. Pauline Williams is in the house. S.A. Smith, welcome, welcome. Everybody saying one love, Hotep peace. We've got Brother Kwame Aboje in the house. We've got Ras Asaka in the house as well. Rise up, welcome. We've got Nzinga, our Queen Nzinga Asata in the house. Welcome, welcome. I did see earlier that we had our brother Icon in the house, watching us all the way from Jamdown, Jamaica. Welcome, welcome. It is wonderful to have all of you in the house. If you're in the chat, do drop us a message. Let us know that you're in the house. I can see we've got Brother Mundele in the house. Oh, Yenge, Brother Mundele. Good to have you in the house. Okay, let me go on to our YouTube channel from my phone because this one's not moving fast enough for me. And, we'll see who else we've got in the house. But thank you all so much for joining us today. As you know, if you've seen the promo flyer, which did go out quite late today, so apologies about that. If you see it, you'll know that we're going to be having a very serious conversation today about a matter concerning death threats, racial insults, hurled at all Black women, and also Diane Abbott, MP. And so we're going to be, having a conversation about that today because it's absolutely outrageous, in my opinion. But we're going to go there in a little while. Okay, let's see. The chat is going to come up. Yeah, we've got Sister Carol in the house, reminding everyone to hit the like button. Yes, please do. Give us a thumbs up as you come in the house. Hit that like button for us. Welcome, Blue Zodiac. good to have you in the house as well. Hearing some outrage, she said, looking to hearing some outrage. Yes, indeed. Oh my gosh, you know. And Dee Dee's in the house. Welcome, Dee. Welcome, Shirley. Natural Mystic, everybody that's in the house, we welcome you so, so much. We're absolutely delighted to have you here. Queenie, welcome. I Convey again, welcome, welcome, each and every one of you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and please do give us a thumbs up, give us a like as you come through the door. Would much appreciate that. So, sis, we're gonna go straight into our topic of conversation today. Actually, I haven't done my announcements, but you know, I'll do the let's
do your announcement.
Your announcements. Let's do those announcements. As always, you know, like my beautiful sister just Sunray, I'm always busy, as you know. Well, family, as you know, we recently finished part 1 of our Black History course. And because of the success of part 1, the good news is that we're doing it all again. We are coming to you with part 2 of our Black British History course. We're going to be revealing more hidden chapters of Black British history from ancient times. Yes, indeed. Let me pull up my notes here, because wow, what a part 1 session we've had. Those of you who joined us on part 1, you will know that we went back, way back to the Stone Age era. And so the era that they call prehistory. But in fact, there is evidence of an African presence in Britain, you know, during the Stone Age era, the Mesolithic era, the Megalithic era, the Neolithic era. These are the terms that they have given to different eras, and there is evidence of an African presence in all these eras, and we were breaking it down, and we were bringing that evidence, and we were bringing the information on part 1 of our course, which was, you know, wow, such a roller coaster. It was great. And part 2 now, we're going to continue with the latter end of the Neolithic era, and we're going to be going into the Bronze Age, the African presence in Britain during the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Anglo-Saxon and Roman era. So those are the eras that we're planning to cover in terms of the African presence in Britain. And so join us for part 2. Some of you say, oh, if I haven't done part 1, can I still do part 2? Yes, of course, you can do part 2, even though you haven't done part 1. And, you know, because we're going through the different eras. And maybe we'll do it as a rolling program. We might go back to part 1 later on in the year. We'll see how it goes, okay? So get ready, get ready, get ready. It's a 6-week program. It's online, which means that you can join us from anywhere in the world. It's going to start on Monday, the 29th of April from 7:30 p.m. through to 9:30 p.m. Mind you, most of the time we're there to 10:30, sometimes even later. Such was, you know, the discussions that we were having. So on these sessions, we bring you facts, we bring you evidence, we bring you historical information that you won't get, you know, at your school, colleges or universities, okay? So make sure that you join the course and get to know about the evidence that exists of our presence here in Britain that goes back at least 44,000 years. Can you believe it? I wasn't taught none of this in school. And for those who have come through the course and for those who did my poll a little while back, I know that I'm not alone in that regard. Knowledge is empowering, and our ancestors have left us, you know, evidence of their existence. And if you know what to look for, then you will see it. So I just wanted to share with you about that course. And for those of you saying, okay, how do I get on that course? What you need to do is go to Gumroad, that's gumroad.com, and search for Sister Shanice. Sister is with an A, and you will go to my page there, and you'll be able to click on the link. There is a discount code, there is a discount link, and so get in there early and take advantage of the discount, okay? So that's going to be there. Also, I've got another book in the writing. This is going to be another great handbook, and it's called Marcus Garvey the Great, you know? He is just so great. I thought, you know what, I've got to just pen something about this great man. And what I've decided is that I'm going to give it away free of charges to everybody who emails me and wants to be on my mailing list. You will get a complimentary copy of the Marcus Garvey the Great free ebook that I'm working on at the moment, and it will be finished quite soon. I'll drop a link in the chat so you know, so you have the email address where you can email me. It's starlightglobalbooks@yahoo.com. Starlightglobalbooks@yahoo.com. And I will post that in the chat so that you've got that. So that's a wonderful freebie for all my wonderful subscribers and supporters coming your way quite soon. Okay, so look out for that. And of course, don't forget my book that I've got up there, you know, the remarkable accomplishments of ancient African civilizations. I have the book here, family. And, you know, it's just packed with information. If I open it, let me see what I've got here. Okay, and we were talking about this earlier today. Here we have information, for example, about so many great African kingdoms, cities, and empires during ancient times. And so, you know, if you want to be able to reel off, you know, some of our ancient empires, some of our great cities, some of our great kingdoms, okay, just grab hold of a copy of this book, you know, and you can talk about the Tassili, Algiers kingdom that existed in the Algeria, Niger, Mali, and Libya region. And that was, wow, back 9,000 years ago. And there's a bit about that. And of course, we all know a lot about Egypt as well. Egypt's in there as one of our great empires. We've got Carthage in there that we talk about. Genoa is in there. That's a great kingdom that went back 250 BCE right up to the 13th century. You can find out about the kingdom of Kush. You can find out about the Aksum Empire, the kingdom of Ife, the Umayyad Caliphate Empire, the Empire of Ghana. You know, there's information about so many of our great kingdoms and cities. We've got Munamatapa Empire. We've got the great kingdom of Zimbabwe in there. Kingdom of Kangaba in there. I mean, there's so many great kingdoms, so many great empires, the Songhai Empire. If you want to be able to just reel them off. And then, you know, as you go through, there's information about you know, some of our great inventions and inventors as well, because as a people, we invented so much, but you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't even know it if you was to listen to some of these Eurocentric historians and academics. They will try and tell you that, you know, we've never created or invented anything, that it's all just such a lie. There's so much in here, family. If I start reeling it off to you, oh my gosh, some of our great inventions, you know, like the hieroglyphics, mathematics, the papyrus, and medicines, astronomy, ironworking, calendar, glass making, solar calendar. And I tell you where the evidence is that you can find, you know, the origins of these great inventors. And in some places as well, I give you the time frame as well. I mean, there's so much in here. You will have a great time reading this book, and it'll make a great gift as well. Okay, so hopefully my guest will come back soon. But yeah, absolutely great book to have on your library, to give to a loved one. Okay, it's there. All that work's been done for you. So those are some of my announcements, and I will post a link to my email so that you can get a copy of my freebie that's going to be coming your way very soon. Right. I think I've given enough time for our family to come through the door so that we can start having our very important conversation today. We've entitled it Black Women Outraged at Diane Abbott's Death Threat and the Racial Hatred that's been expounded about us as Black women. My. Some of you, I know not all of you are from the UK, so some of you may not know who Diane Abbott is. But Diane Abbott is a British politician. She's a woman of colour. She's a member of parliament, and she has been since 1987. So, and she's actually one of the longest serving Black MPs in parliament in recent times. And she's also, I think she was the first Black woman elected to parliament in recent times as well. She's a lot older than she looks. You know what they say, black don't crack. She's 70 years of age. She's going to be 71 this year. And she's presently sitting in the House of Commons as an independent after having been suspended and lost the whip back in April last year. But that's another story altogether. And Diane Abbott has apparently received more abuse as a female MP than any other female or other MPs in the Houses of Commons. She has suffered years of relentless, abusive, racist campaigns against her, especially leading up to election time. Apparently, Amnesty International carried out some research prior to the 2017 elections and found that Diane Abbott had received 45% of all the abusive tweets sent to female MPs in the 6 weeks before the election day. And in the previous 6 months, she had received just under a third of all abuse sent to the same group as well. But despite all of the abuse, all of the threats, she has hanged on in there, and she's ridden the waves and the turbulences and the racism that's been hurled against her, you know. But recently, you know, this new threat that's been hurled at her, in my opinion, it just takes it to another level. There's a man called Frank Hester, who last year gave £10 million to the Tory party. So that gives you an idea of his wealth and the status within British society, his connections to the Tory party. So, you know, his circle is with the higher echelons of society. He said, apparently, that Diane Abbott makes you want to hate all Black women and should be shot. Sister Jasunray, let me go over to you first of all for your immediate thoughts and comments on this statement.
Let me just quickly prefix what I'm going to say. I was really pleased about receiving this invite. And the reason being is because often when we hear stuff like this, we don't always get the opportunity to respond in the moment. You understand what I'm saying? And when I listen, I've been listening very keenly to the television about what's being said and what's being reported, and more importantly, how it's being reported. And I don't often furnish myself with the newspaper, you know, because most of the time you can get lots of things online. But, you know, as a trainer, it's always good to have evidence because these become our case studies. And my initial thoughts is that this man is clearly out of order, disrespectful. And the nonsense that I hear, the nonsense that I've heard coming across the television, it made me think, imagine if it was somebody that had different genders, for example, someone that was a trans person. Or imagine if it was a Jewish person that somebody had made such comments to about, and the uproar that would have happened. I know you mentioned about why the whip was taken away from her, and yes, you're right, that's a different story. But I am so, I'm so, I feel so disrespected in terms of that this man could actually say this and get away with it, because it appears that he's going to get away with it. Because one of the questions that was asked by one of the ministers, would they give the money back, the £10 million, because that's what the Labour Party is asking. And they said clearly no. One of their arguments was that what he had said was in private and it was done many years ago. And it tells me that many of these individuals within these establishments are hypocrites, and they're liars. And many of them are prepared to break the law, because we do have a law against racism, whether that's direct or indirect. We do have laws against racism, and that is racist speech. That is hate speech. And when you illustrate 45% of those vicious emails directed at her, 45% out of 100.
45% of all. They didn't say, you know,
45% out of all.
Of all the hate mail that was sent to all the MPs in a run-up to Parliament, 45% of them were sent to her. So if there were 10,000 hate mails sent to the different MPs, you know, around, you know, she had 45% of all of them. And, you know, in the 6 months prior to that, she had just under a third of all the hate mail that was sent to her. But, you know, some of us, my sis, are outside of the United Kingdom. So, you know, we're not privy to hearing what's been said on the news. I wonder if you could give us a bit of a flavour of how this matter is being presented on the mainstream media. What's their take?
Initially, when I heard the news, what I heard was that the broadcasters were appalled at what was said. And therefore, they had a minister come on, and he explained that he wasn't there to say that it wasn't racism. He was there to say that it was some time ago, it was in private, and that he has apologized or attempted to apologize because he had contacted Diane Abbott several times. And prior to that, he was also illustrating that he has a diverse work team in his workplace, and that he was the least racist person, you know, that you would, you know, to know. And he basically was quite clear that what he has said shouldn't be regarded as racist. Now,
you know, this argument that he did it in private is now in the public domain. It's whether it was said in private or not, it has been made public. So it is a matter for public debate, which is what's happening now. And it is a matter of public concern. And it is causing harm and distress to Black women everywhere. You know, we are experiencing, you know, the hurt and the anger, you know, and what has been said, you know, we just can't even imagine how Diane Abbott must be feeling right now about this. Now, it is a public matter, even if it was said in private. It's come out, it's in the public domain. The newspapers have been reporting it. The TV, the television has been reporting it. It is a public matter. He hasn't denied saying it, so he's guilty of actually saying that. And the fact that it's coming to the public domain now, it's actually an incitement to racial hatred. It's, you know, it's an incitement. He could be inciting someone to actually, you know, carry out, you know, that which he has said, you know, he is his desire for have happen. You know, he's putting Diane Abbott and all Black women in danger. And
Well,
when you
let's
put that
just
into the context of racism generally in the UK, and you know the race murders in the past, and the history that we've had, we can't afford, you know, for this sort of racial hatred and abusive kind of talks and threats to be allowed. Action must be taken. Action must, and
well,
justice must be seen to be done. He's committed a crime, he's committed an offense. He should be arrested, you know, for inciting racial hatred, for racial abuse, racial hatred towards all Black women. You know, I feel abused, I feel violated as a Black woman. You know, this is really awful. And as you said, just imagine this was a trans person, or, you know, one of those who dress up and do the pantomimes, what they call them, you know, just imagine, you know, that it's one of these people who cross dresses, and someone looks at them and said, that one there looks so awful, you know, they should be shot. In fact, all trans people should be shot. Can you imagine the outrage?
this is
You
what
know,
I'm
if this
saying.
was a Jew, like you said,
Why would this?
you know,
Why is this allowed?
nothing as
Why is
awful
this
as
allowed?
that. It should not be allowed. It seems like money, you know, is taking precedent here. You know, Tory party can keep his 10. He needs to invest 10 million in anti-racism. He
Well, you
needs to
see,
invest 10
yeah, but you
million.
see, sis, this is the issue. This is the issue, right? When I was delivering training, let me share this with you, right, and share this with those that are watching. I was delivering training, and one of the things that I recognized when I was delivering this training to Europeans is that you cannot expect to change a lifetime of formulated attitudes in 1 or 2 days training. It's just, it doesn't happen. What you do is present a case that allows them to be reflective about the role that they play in upholding the status quo, and their contribution, whether that's direct or indirect, their actions. And it doesn't surprise me that somebody of his ilk could possess such ideas. What I am so angry about is that you have a law. It's like one law for you, one law for everybody else. And you have the gall, they have the gall to sit on national television and look you directly in the face and tell us that that's not racism. And not only that, it's not for them to determine what is racism. You see, when you receive that kind of behavior, it's not for the perpetrator to define whether it was a racist act or not. And not only that, hear what the man said. Looking at her makes me want to hate all Black women. So it wasn't just directed at one person. It was directed at a whole race. And you know, the political context, the social construct of race in this context is what I'm using it. And that, for me, and then he says, you're acting out the violence because for you to utter it out of your mouth, you considered it in your head. She should be shot. And then we have our minister, the Prime Minister, and his response, so-called delayed response. It tells me that either he's insensitive, doesn't think that it affects him, it has nothing to do with him, or it doesn't require any real attention. But it demonstrates how these people see Black women in their community. it demonstrates how many sisters have experienced this kind of behaviour. This man has the gall to even say this in private. We know that many of them are not going to change their attitude or their behaviour, but the law is there to ensure that they do not carry out this kind of behaviour. And here we have it played out for all to see. And if you read the newspaper, you will find that there's a lot of emphasis being placed on his style of management in his business. And he comes across. This is the distraction. This is the distraction. But this is the distraction, yeah, because we are idiots. This is how they're talking to us. And then, when you check it now and look at the amount of contract that he has, I can't even remember exactly what the exact figure is, but he holds at least 60% of the medical information, 600 million. I can't remember the figure, I'll check, of patients. They have just recently given him contracts to run aspects of the NHS. This man has a work ethos that determines to me that he has this kind of behaviour is normal to him. This kind of behaviour, because he himself says that he jokes about diversity and it means no harm. So for me, the only saving grace is social media has allowed us to be able to have access to these kind of information. So for me, that's a fortunate thing. And as we can see, social media played a massive role in sharing what we are all very aware of when George Floyd was murdered. So everyone could see that. So it's a good thing that we know what's going on. It doesn't surprise us though, because we know that's how they actually, some people operate. But I just feel it's a disrespect. In actual fact, when you were speaking, it made me think about what could we actually do? Because when you think about the ministers, besides Diane Abbott, and what the Black sisters, the Africans, the African Caribbean MPs and what they must be subjected to on a daily basis in order to hold their position. And when we think about the mental health impact of that kind of onslaught, and to know that your colleagues don't have your back because themselves is speaking disparagingly, disrespectfully about you, not only behind your back, but in front of you. Let me tell you something. I would like it put on record. It's out of order. It is racism. And you can't tell me after you've disrespected me that it's not disrespect. Because if the shoes was on the other feet, and considering what she was lost the wit for, in my personal view, she's correct. Because we recognise, yes, they might be Irish and other minority groups that have experienced discrimination. But let me share this with you. They look like the other. They look very similar. They can simulate much more easily. Yeah, they'd be accepted unless they mention their name, or they can even change their name. We can change our name, but we can't change our face. And not that we want to. I just feel this is a disrespect to all Black women in the UK. They've been dissing our brothers like this for years, for decades. Likewise, the sisters. But to hear this man speak in this way and feel like he's untouchable because there's no accountability. And he's been trying to, why would Diane Abbott even answer her phone to him? Why? I
Mm.
would want to sue him for
Yes.
defamation of character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would I want to talk to him? He would be
Mm.
talking to my solicitor or my barrister,
Mhm.
whichever one's appropriate. But he would be
Mhm.
talking to somebody official because I wouldn't be talking to him. And in
Mhm.
an actual case, all those emails that he's received, what he's done about it? What he's
Mhm.
done about it?
Mhm.
Fair enough, you can't stop people from writing,
Mhm.
but we have laws that it's against that. And when we think about all those other minority groups, it's almost like they're taken seriously, and the black woman is at the bottom of the pile. When we are on this, when we're upholding this system, we're actually upholding this. When you go into major offices, when you
Mhm.
go into these establishments, when you go into social services, you go into the NHS, you go
Mhm.
into education, you go into the service industry, you find us
Yes.
doing the worst of the jobs and the
Mm.
top of the jobs. And this, some people could turn around and say, well, working as an MP could be the highest of the highest job you could do in the UK. And even right up there, we are subjected to public humiliation. Because imagine how she must feel
Yeah.
humiliated.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
disrespect, man. It's a
Yeah.
disrespect. It's a
Yeah.
disrespect, and I want it put on the record. It's a disrespect. I, Sister Just Unrest, says so.
Yeah. Sis, have to absolutely agree with you on that. And what he's also done is he's put all Black women's lives in danger. I mean, we've got
Yeah,
some sick people out there, and he's put the lives of other Black MPs in danger as well, because there have been, as we know, a number of incidences in the UK where MPs have been murdered.
killed.
Their own,
Those two.
MPs have been killed. Men and women have been assassinated. There exists a list of British MPs that have been killed in office. This is very serious, very serious. That this is, when we talk about incitement to racial hatred, incitement to racism, there are people who will, look to act out what he, has suggested. And so he's put our lives, at risk. Is a very serious, serious matter indeed. And he is a person of such high authority with so much power of persuasion
Yeah,
as well. It took the Prime Minister how
yeah,
long? But
24
before he
hours.
quitted. I mean, apparently now the Prime Minister is saying that it was a racist remark. I did read that somewhere. Here it is. Diane Abbott reports Tory donor Frank Hester to police as Sunak finally calls comment racist and wrong. So that's the headline in the Independent newspaper. And this is an exclusive, I say an exclusive. MP reports businessman to the police over frightening comments. Number 10 finally calls the comments racist, but only after two ministers refused to, despite outrage of senior Conservatives. Even their own were outraged by the remarks. And Diane Abbott reported that the Conservative Party's biggest ever donor, she reported to the police after he was alleged to have said the MP should be shot. This is disgraceful, and we have to take these sorts
Amazing.
of threats seriously because, as I say sometimes, when we talk about lynchings in America, it started with one lynching. It started with one lynching, which wasn't condemned. It wasn't, dealt with firmly and effectively, and the perpetrators got away with it. So because they got away with it, there was another lynching, and they got away with it again. And then there was another and another until, Black people couldn't even walk the streets at one time in America because of fear of being lynched. And so, we do know the depths to which, the people that we live amongst can go. Our history has made it clear that, we could be in serious danger, if the evil side of this group was allowed to rear its ugly head. you know, our ancestors had to fight for hundreds of years to free us from chattel slavery. This is the slavery that they had us under for hundreds of years. You know, slavery wasn't abolished because they suddenly came to their senses and thought, oh, you know, maybe we've been doing the wrong thing. No, slavery was abolished because our ancestors made it unmanageable. They put the fear of God into them. They couldn't sleep in those plantations at night, the fear of, like, you know, losing their head as they slept. You know, there were so many insurrections, there were so many riots. You know, slavery was made unmanageable by our people. Hence why they eventually decided, you know, to free us. And so, you know, with that in mind, and, you know, after hundreds of years of enslavement and then coming out of that, and the African countries still going through what they're going through in terms of the exploitation and the bullying of the Western world, and knowing how well armed they are, and knowing how racist some of the police and the army and their MPs and others are, you know, when individuals make those sorts of utterances, we have to be concerned. Every African has to be concerned, and every conscious person out there who's in favor of justice and believes in justice has to be concerned, because we cannot allow evil to unleash itself, because if it does, it's going to be really difficult then to put the cap on it again. And our ancestors, you know, had that terrible, difficult job to do centuries ago, and we certainly don't want our children to have to be going through trying to quell, you know, the racism that could potentially explode if comments like this and if individuals like this are allowed to get away with it, irrespective of their position in society. You know, he should have to step down from whatever position he's holding right now. Apparently, he's got an OBE, and there's a petition going around for that OBE to be recalled. That absolutely needs to happen. And, you know, he needs to put some millions as well, you know, in compensation into some anti-racist programs. You know, most definitely. I mean, you can't be allowed to get away with it. Let's hear what some of our people are saying in the chat. Kwame saying, go for it, Sister Tracy. Yeah, your name is Tracy on your thing. He said, go for it. Kwame Aboje, I will sign a petition to oppose racial injustice against our people. Of course, Pauline Williams says, there is a WhatsApp there is a WhatsApp circulating. This unlawful act can be reported as a hate crime. I have signed it. Well done. Okay, let's hope that you know, that comes across my WhatsApp groups as well. So there's something that's circulating where they're calling for this act to be recognized as an unlawful act and as a hate crime. It most definitely is a hate crime. Farmer says, speak it, Sister Shanice, speak it. Sheriff S is in the house. Welcome. She said, I watched MP Question Time today, and Sunak's excuses were ridiculous. We need to put pressure on him to give back the dirty racists in money. Yeah, give him back in money. Of course, you know them not going to give him back in money. 10 million, and only could be some money that them now go on give it back. But you know what? He should be made to pay for his comments. He should be made to pay for the hurt that he has caused all Black women everywhere. He should be made to pay, you know, for the harm that he's caused to Diane Abbott, for the abuse and the insult and the fear that, you know, he has instilled in her. He should be made to pay, because anybody else would have to pay. So why should he not have to pay for that crime? Let's see what else is going on. Kwame Boche says Diane Abbott should have been allowed to speak, and the speaker ignorant, denying her right. Why was she not allowed the right to speak? Everybody should want to hear what she has to say right now. Shafa said, blessed love, Dr. Shanice and the collective in the chat. Blessed love. We need our own political parties. We've earned the right. See what they think of us, even today in 2024. Absolutely. You know, let us not be under any illusion. This is the sort of stuff that gets discussed in private at their functions and their meetings when we're not around all the time, I would imagine. But you know, when they come out and this sort of information gets put out in the public domain, they are communicating to their peers and their people, their sentiment sentiment, and they're also giving subliminal messages about how they should be and what they should be thinking as well. This is serious. They're sending strong messages to their people, and they're saying, this is how you should view African women. You should hate them, and people who rise to positions of power, should be shot. This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Zodiac says, speaker fails to let Diane Abbott speak in PMQs on Tory remarks. Pauline says, this guy has access to our data through the companies that the government has given him. Serious. We know what he thinks about Black women then, don't we? I mean, how can you have someone with that sort of mindset have your personal health records, have access to your personal health records? It's really, really concerning. Blue Zodiac says Labour MP Andy MacDonald was suspended in October for making an offensive remark about Israelis and Palestine. Now has his whip returned to him by the Labour Party, while Diane Abbott is still suspended. Further evidence of differential treatment on the grounds of race. Thanks for highlighting that, Blue Zodiac. We do need to be talking about these differential treatments and these obvious cases of racism, And Kwame is saying they aren't sorry because they are immorally evil. We know there's some evil and wickedness among some people who we live with on this earth, and we cannot allow that evil to be unleashed. Otherwise, it's going to be serious for us as a people. Sister Shirley, these mafias have no remorse, man. No man left, right or liberal. Agree. Let me ask our sister Sunray to respond to some of those comments.
Well, what it tells me is that, one, we're always coming up with solutions. And one of the contributors said that we ought to have our own political representation. And I would definitely agree with that. I've always said that. I feel that if we had somebody who the party's agenda is not their priority, that it's the priority is about representation of this particular ethnic group. And the reason why I say that is because it's quite clear, based on what I've heard so far and read, that Diane Abbott is not alone, and that the equalities group associated with the African Caribbean MPs are also experiencing a lot of differential treatment, and don't feel that they have equal access to the resources. So maybe he could donate that £10 million to that group, as it was suggested. So I feel that we ought to have a specific person that, for example, we will work with a range of other people who will be sitting on different committees, but the agenda is quite clear. It's race first. And I feel, for me, because when we think about this, the impact of what he is saying, and if we just spread it out and think about the inequalities that we experience in all the different spheres of society, from education to high number of deaths during childbirth, and subject matters that you've covered many a time. When we think about education and underachievement, when we think about where we spend most of our money and how long our money stays in our community, when we think about even the impact of the pandemic and how that disproportionately wiped many of us out, killed many of us. When we think about the glass ceiling, when we think about, inequalities around employment, and often being subjected to just penal punishment more often than our co-workers, and dismissal at work and being sacked. When we think about all these different aspects of society that has an adverse, and I haven't even mentioned policing, you know. When we think about all these different aspects of society that we engage with here in the UK, and look at where we sit within all of that, what we are recognizing is that we're constantly being traumatized, while we go about just trying to live a life. And so for me, that itself needs to be recognized. The damaging and the trauma, that itself warrants its own individual separate attention. It's not enough for us to engage in policies in different political parties, because our status quo in terms of the inequalities that is felt on the Black community and the African Caribbean community, here in the diaspora, is still the same. It doesn't matter whether the Conservative or the Labour or Lib Dem or anybody's in.
Yeah.
Those discriminatory behaviours and those experiences of oppression are still experienced regardless. So why not try something different? Why not look at someone that is supported by the political structure, you know, that has that representation? Because often what you'll find, or what I believe, is that those same people of colour who are operating through the parliamentary system to ensure representation and accountability, the needs of our community are not being addressed first and foremost. Because if that was the case, trust me, this man would have been out of office. This man, there would have been an instant response that told him, sent a message to him: this is not acceptable. We live in a diverse community, according to them, and we have laws against this kind of behaviour and hate speech. And no, this is not acceptable. What contracts we have with you, we need to find another person to work with, and the money that you donated, he needs to be whitelisted, basically. You know, all of us done the cancel culture, but he needs to be cancelled. My brother, that man needs to be cancelled, because really and truly, that is racism. And I think it's abhorrent for you to turn and say it isn't. It's racism. And as you said and articulated so well, right? There are people who are very loyal to the establishment. And do you know, I was having a conversation recently, and I was at this dinner party, and somebody raised it to me, and he said to me, do you know that white people make up at least 86% of the population in the UK? And when you think about London, you would be misconstrued to think that London actually represents the greater population in the UK. And what we have to understand...
If you don't know London, just to let them know that London is a place that's very ethnically diverse, and there's large concentrations of non-white people in London. So, yeah.
So people would be misled to think London actually reflects the greatest part of the UK and Ireland. But what we have to also understand is that we operate in very concentrated pockets of England and Wales and Ireland. Very concentrated. We're not and I would use the word because it's about dispersal. We're not dispersed equally right across the United Kingdom. So what we have to bear in mind is that when we think about our positioning, and there is support in numbers and housing policies, many of us are being forced into isolation. And when we hear comments like this, when you think about somebody that's living in a very rural area, and we have to be honest, and I'm speaking from experience, there are lots of rural areas where there's not a lot of people of colour. And so immediately you hear this kind of disrespect on national television. You see the ministers and how it's been reported. You see the discrepancies. Imagine now when you step out in that community and you know there are people who have racist views and racist behaviours. They may not directly tell you, but guess what? You don't need to tell me for me to pick up if you're racist. And we all know, because it's a gut feeling. You see, there's an energy that comes with that kind of behaviour. So you don't need someone to articulate it. You just need to observe their behaviour towards you or to others that look like you. So when you see a scenario like this, when you see a situation where a man that has prominent position and authority and is regarded highly by those in authority, because obviously with money comes great power, doesn't it? So therefore, he can, I mean, I don't understand the political structures, but it just sounds a bit, well, you donate 10 grand, plus you've got a big contract from the same people. It just sounds a bit insidious, but I won't go there because I'm speaking out of source. I don't know the fullness of it. But what I have read so far, it makes me feel like it's jobs for the boys. It's like there's this colluding, it would seem so. I'm not saying that it is. What I am saying is that if your friend does something wrong, you should be able to say to your friend, you was out of order. Because what kind of friend would you be if you saw your friend doing something abhorrent, absolutely out of order, and you're not saying nothing? You don't say anything. And I think when this kind of debacle unfolds, you've got people of colour living in these rural areas in fear. You've got people. You've got people that are going home about their normal, now having to have a second look besides the other look behind their back. This is unacceptable. And he needs to know that we, the Black community here, we're not accepting that. And we are traumatized by hearing this. It's not that it surprised us because, we know that people can be two-faced. But there is a law and there is no equal treatment, because if this was another intersectionality group, this would not go down well. If it was said about Jewish people, if it was, look what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, look what's happening in the Gaza Strip right now. If he or somebody of colour was to have spoken in that context, look what Diane Abbott said. And you can't tell me what she said was wrong, because it's true. It's true. It's true. It may not speak for everyone, but elements of what she said was true. Now, I'm not sitting here advocating for Diane Abbott like I'm some big Diane Abbott fan, But what I am saying is, I am a fan of the Black woman, and she is a Black woman, and she has chosen to take this path. And we have to stand together. We may not agree with the same political party, but we need to stand together as sisters. This is a direct disrespect and attack on the women, the Black sisters, the African Caribbean sisters, the sisters that has drawn blood to put the great in this Great Britain. sisters that have come here and worked tirelessly. It's a disrespect. And like you said, it's almost like he's giving people permission. But let me just say this. I beseech anyone that might have that kind of thought to recognize that kind of behavior is not acceptable. It's not right. And you wouldn't want nobody doing it to yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And, you know, sisters, let's take precautions when we're out there. You know, there's always strength in numbers, you know, and wherever we can, articulate our response to what's been unfolding this past 2 days. We should seek, and I think some of the comments, like others saying that they've signed the petition, I think that's about us demonstrating what you illustrated so well, our resilience, our resilience. And when you was talking about the history and talking about the history of chattel enslavement, you know, and how we've always resisted, where they've always slept in their bed in fear, you know, and we are observant of how he's trying to traumatize us, but we're not going to become victims. We're very articulate, we're very proactive, we work as a unit, and we will use due diligence to express our disgust with what's being said, and our disgust with the slow response that those that claim to be leaders, because ultimately, you know, I heard another argument said on the television, oh, the Prime Minister is very sensitive because of his ethnicity, you know, and it's almost like what the establishment does is they get one of us involved in their teamwork, and when stuff like this unfolds, they say, oh, but look, we've got one of yours working here. We've got one of yours working with us. And so, you know, we haven't done too bad. And it's almost like they use us, you know. I don't know what the Prime Minister must be thinking, but if he's got a conscience, really and truly, he knows this is not right.
Well, apparently, let me just jump in here, sis, for a moment. He said, according to this article, he is now admitting that the remark was indeed a racist remark. Apparently, at first, he wasn't coming out and calling it a racist comment, but now apparently he is. And also, just to mention that this same man, Frank Hester, so we've got here that Sunak is finally calling the comment racist and wrong. There was another article that I was looking at earlier as well. Let me see if I can find that again, because in this article, this person, Frank, was trying to claim, well, because he makes a donation to the Tory party, which is headed up by a Sikh, he obviously can't be racist. I mean, how absurd, you know, is that? And to think that they can, you know, as you were saying, try and justify, here it is. Frank Hester's lawyers said the fact that he donated heavily to a party led by Britain's first Hindu Prime Minister was evidence he embraces diversity. We've got a voice to the lawyer. No, that is not evidence at all that he embraces diversity. You know, Sunak happens to be the Prime Minister and head of this party at the moment, but, you know, he was donating to the party, not to Rishi Sunak at all. And just going back on what you were saying about in terms of solution as well, and what was suggested in the chat, that we ought to have our own political parties. You know, I absolutely agree. We, you know, you are going to hear our MPs say well, sorry, I'm not there just to represent Black people. I'm there to represent the whole community. Black people have particular challenges, particular problems. We was talking about it within the context of society, education, health, the police, the judiciary system. It goes on and on and on. We have particular issues that need to be addressed, and it's not being addressed because we don't have any representation in position of powers that can actually ensure that our issues are addressed. And so, since this chappie likes to make contributions and donations to political parties, and since, he's got no idea of what racism is all about because he can't see the errors of his ways or is refusing to, he needs to donate to the setting up of an all-Black political party, since, as he's saying here, he doesn't have a problem donating heavily to political parties that's headed up by someone who's a non-white person. Would he donate to a political party that's headed up by someone who is of African origin? Because we need our own political party so that we have that voice, because clearly from what I've heard, there's no one on the television, no one in the media speaking about how we feel about what has been said. The newspapers are not reflecting our outrage in terms of what has been said.
Yeah.
There's no one in the Tory party or the Labour Party or anyone else who's speaking, about how we feel as African women now. This is like having to put us all on red alert. As you say, we're going to have to be looking after over our shoulder. We're going to be, more vulnerable than we are already vulnerable within, a predominantly white community. And for those Black people, as you were saying, who are living isolated in places where, they are a minority, imagine how they're going to feel going to school, college, university, or work now. And this debate is going on. They're going to be like, yeah, what do you think then, Jackie? It's not racist, is it? It's not racist. Jackie knows it's racist, but, she's got all of her
whites. She not say anything.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'll be the cold shoulder for Jackie. And so we're all going to be put in this really awkward situation now. And what ought to happen, society might say, okay, you've got the platform now, what ought to happen? Well, we've already said we need our all-Black political party where we have representatives who are speaking up and speaking out on our behalf. We need the Galloways of the like, in our all-Black political party, talking, the truth, talking truth to power. Big up, Galloway every time. What else do we need? We need the police to be coming out and to be assuring us as Black women, we know they don't, but they ought to be stepping out and saying, look, we understand, that Black women have probably, been really shaken up by these comments that have been made, but we're letting you know that we are there to support you. Any problems you have, we're going to be, it'll be lovely. So why not have,
that's not going to happen.
You know what I'm saying? But why not have a team of Black investigators and Black law enforcers who, can be there to protect us, that are being paid to be on the streets of London. They could be dealing with other incidences on the streets as well. But, we need protecting. We even need protecting from those who are supposed to protect us. We are in a very vulnerable and serious situation, and our voices are not being heard. And we need to have spaces, and we need to have structured organizations that are financed, where, we can have a voice and talk about, these sorts of situations. And so, yeah, a lot of concern for our safety now, and quite rightly so. And, these sorts of comments coming from someone of such, political stature, with so much wealth and so much influence and power, with the OB, it needs to be dealt with very seriously indeed. I've got a comment here from Evie. Rise up, brother, Sister Evie, who said, disgraceful. It was an incitement to racial violence against the Black women. He should be arrested. This is what we're saying with our voice. We are saying that these comments were absolutely disgraceful. He should be arrested. It's an incitement to racial violence against all Black women. It's an incitement to racial violence against Diane Abbott, and it needs to be treated as such as well. Let me see if there's any Brother Kwame is saying Diane Abbott is our lioness who doesn't take crap from anyone. I mean, she's so brave. I mean, this is an older woman, you know, we know black don't crack. You wouldn't look at her and think that she was a 70-year-old woman going to be 71 this year, you know, but why should an elder, you know, be spoken to in this disrespectful way? Why should this elder who's given most of her life to serve in this country be treated with this sort of abuse? Why should an elder, you know, not be protected more? And why should she not see someone who has abused her in this way being carted out and arrested for the abuse? You know, she's sacrificed more than half of her life, I'm sure, you know, to this country, serving her constituents. And this is the sort of treatment that she gets. It's absolutely outrageous and despicable. What's Pauline said? Well, she's answering Anthony, and she said, clearly feel that they are untouchable. So behave freely within their disrespect. And, you know, this is a major cause for concern. As we said, if it was some of these other minority groups, there's absolutely no way that they would be able to make these sorts of comments, and there would not be probably international outcry. You know, I would love to hear some of our African leaders, you know, even getting involved and saying, what's going on in Britain? You know, why are black women, you know, being told that black women being threatened in that way?
And victimized.
And being victimized in that way. You know, black women in the US are also under attack. You know, this is absolutely awful. Anthony Lowe says, Diane Abbott stood up 30 times in the House of Commons to put her side of what happened to her. The Speaker of the House snubbed her and refused to allow her to speak. That is outrageous. That Speaker of the House should be reprimanded. That Speaker of the House should be removed. That Speaker of the House was clearly, you know, acting in
a reason given? Was a reason given?
I think it's no, it doesn't say that a reason was given. So finally, if there was a reason given by, you know, she was ignored despite trying to make an attempt 30 times to see 30 times. You know, that is outrageous. You know, it's just abuse on top of abuse, insult on top of insult. Ghana Africa in Focus is in the house. He said, this is why we need a national African organization to protect our people. Absolutely agree. Sister Diane is a courageous sister who doesn't give in to these demons. So, and rightly so, that's right, but she should not have to suffer, you know, this sort of indignation. Big up Diane Abbott, 38 years as an African political female for our people in Hackney North and Stoke Newington. You know, I hope all of her constituent members actually come out and support her in this. Rise up, Sister Wendy as well. Plenty of comments. I'm going to get to some more of your comments in a little while. Let's go over to another one of the news headlines, shall we? And get some comments from you on that, you know? So we've got here that, Sunak finally calls the comment racist and wrong. And that Diane filed a complaint with the Metropolitan Police's Parliamentary Liaison and Investigation Team after Frank Hester, who donated 10 million to the Tories last year, allegedly made a series of incendiary comments about her, including that she made him, like she controls his feelings and he doesn't have any control over his feelings. She makes him want to hate all black women. Just imagine, you know, someone saying, this person who's cross-dressing makes you want to hate all white men, and you're in a position of power. There would be outrage. So
yeah, but the truth of the matter, sis, that's what racists do. That's if you think about the process of when someone's behaving in that way, and when you look at these films or when you look at documentaries when people, you know, even that trans girl, whatever. Anyway, the trans person that was murdered, you know, by those two young people, and you think about people's justifications, you know, they push the burden of responsibility on the oppressor. You made me do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what an abuser says. You made me do it. It's them detaching themselves from actually taking responsibility and accepting that they made a choice about how they were going to respond to your presence. And
Thank you for, you know, emboldening that point. You are so spot on there, you know, because clearly what was being said, you know, he was blaming her, you know, for wanting to hate all Black women. You know, take responsibility for your feelings and your actions. You know, how could she make you want to hate all Black women? What's the matter with you? You know, why are you, you know, you just so fickle that, you know, someone can make you want to hate, you know, how many millions of us there are, you know, in the world.
If you check it, I recently did this unconscious bias questionnaire. So I was doing this unconscious bias, and the response was that, and it was, if you just bear with me, the response was, just bear with me, I'm just trying to download the thought in my mind, but the response was that I was more likely to associate Black people with good than I was to associate white people with good. And I thought to myself, oh, that's a good result, you know. And the reason why I think that's a good result, that the issue here is that it is so embedded that it happens on a subconscious, unconscious way, because one of the reasons why I think often people like that are uncomfortable in the presence of people of color is that deep down they know that they hold this feeling or this view, and it leaks out. And sometimes if they're in a situation where they're comfortable and they feel like they trust the environment that they're sitting in, they will actually express themselves and express those kind of views. And that's why one of the big initiatives around raising, you know, around doing equality and inclusion training, you know, the new wave of activity around raising white people's consciousness around the impact of discrimination, is that it happens at a subliminal level, and that although this is happening, them need to be challenging family members, friends, work colleagues, you know, associates, when this kind of racist speech is being spoken. And it's the same thing when many years ago, you know, lots of our sisters used to experience wolf calling, you know, men used to chirp us, and then there came an act that deterred men from doing that. And it was put in place to protect women's rights to move about freely without being intimidated or hassled, sexually intimidated or what have you. So when we think about race and think about the work there, you know, there's some expectation that these new conscious, aware thinking white people are going to should be expected now to challenge each other, challenge family members. A Black person doesn't need to be present for you to challenge racism. And here we have a scenario where something was said in public, in private, now has come to the public forefront. I think there's an expectation that, one, because he holds such a high position, he needs to live and exercise good example of best practice. Secondly, we also need to think about the fact that this is being put in the media. What is it distracting us from? You know, what is it that because we always have to recognize this smoke screen that the establishment works with, because what is the overall potential impact of this on the political landscape? We also recognize that recently, I think in the news, that those that are seeking asylum and who could be sent back to Rwanda are going to be given a £3,000. You know, we've got that unfolding in the news at the present moment. Then we have to be mindful that it's election year, and I feel that I would go as far as saying that in some respects this is very embarrassing for the Black MPs, because they're going into, this has come out at this time. You know, it made frontline news yesterday. Today, it didn't make frontline news on all the papers, but it did yesterday in the majority of them. And so we've got to also try and have an overview as to if this has been allowed to come out at this time, because this happened in when was it? At least a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I'll have to find the date, the exact date.
So for me, the motivation around that leaking out now, I'm also very skeptical about why this has come out now, and we've got an election year. And so what sort of message does this send out? You know, our Black sisters who have the ability to vote, are they going to be voting? What political party? You know, this. So for me, you know, one, the issue is you need to be challenging your family, your colleagues when you hear racist comments. We are doing this in the present moment. We are challenging that. And if that's the case, and this is what we're expected, especially with regards to the equality and inclusion training and awareness raising that is happening across the whole of, well, across the UK, in some corporate and statutory organisation and voluntary sector organisation. If there's an expectation, then why would this be any different? Why would we not want to challenge this? And what is the motivation of leaking this information now? What is the political ramifications of this on the community? You know,
I mean, good questions, you know, in terms of the ramifications, I mean, we've touched on some of that to some extent as well, because, you know, there are a lot of light-headed young racists out there who, you know, might feel that this is a license to go out and cause harm, you know, to Black women. So there are, you know, wider ramifications in that regard. And obviously we've talked about the vulnerability of many Black women who might be living in isolated and rural areas now, who are going to have to, you know, face their colleagues, and I hear all that's been said in terms of the race equality training and the need for, you know, anti-racists to challenge their friends and people about their racism, you know. But, you know, I think that those who have these sort of racial tendencies, like the Frank who we're talking about today, you know, they tend to probably just suppress those feelings in public, but then when they're in private, you know, as he thought he was, you know, those sentiments come out, and he's probably, you know, not going to be corrected by the people around him. In fact, they might join in and even agree with him because they hold similar sentiments, you know. So they're going to have those sorts of private conversations, and if we were to hear what was being said, we'd probably fall over backwards. But, you know, what we're saying is that when these sorts of really awful, abusive remarks then come into the public domain, they need to be dealt with, you know, with the full force of the law. It's actually unlawful what he's done. Those utterances constitute incitement to racial hatred, incitement to racial abuse. You know, it's made so many women now feel vulnerable. I mean, this is a criminal offense. So immediately he should have been arrested. He hasn't been arrested. What does that tell us? As African women, if this was, we feel, a trans person or any of the LGBT community people, that this had been said about, you know, I'm sure the person saying it had been arrested by now. If this was a Jewish person, that person would have lost their position, you know, by now. And this is why it was said in the chat that we need, you know, an organized body to be speaking on our behalf, because our voices need to be heard in the same way that other community voices do get heard. Now, I have seen this.
Yeah, but you know, but when I asked that question, I asked the question because you are correct with everything that you've outlined. You've outlined that very clearly in terms of that's the impact. But when I'm asking that question, I was asking the question in terms of what sort, let me be more specific then. Does this give us more confidence in the political structures? You know, what is the political implication for this kind of speech? You know, does this make a young person think, oh, I'd want to get into politics because I want to make things different? I remember when Diane Abbott first came into position, she was very much, one of her pet concerns was the underachievement of young Black boys. And she did, do you remember that? And she did a massive piece of work because she highlighted some inequalities there. And I think the sad thing is, I've heard lots of different other things about Diane Abbott, but I don't know all of what she's done. But I also recognise that the work that she has done in the main has had a positive impact in drawing attention to the many inequalities that we've experienced over the years. And I think I'm asking the question about the political ramifications because I feel that what's happening to her is disrespecting the work that she's done over the years. And I think this is something that the establishment is quite used to doing. And I liken it to this experience. When you see, let's say you see a guinea pig in a wheel going round and round, the wheel represents the establishment. And I feel like the establishment determines what they think the main agenda is. Those of us that go against the grain will work to our own agenda, but nonetheless, we are all part to this constant wheel that's going around. And it's like any term, let's say a term in Parliament, you're all running round while enjoying this term in Parliament. And then all of a sudden, you have a vote and you stop the wheel and everybody scatter. And those that are in good positions will hold on. And those that are in loose position get dashware. And this, and I'm not liking Diane Abbott to a guinea pig or anything like that. What I'm using it as a metaphor to describe how I feel they're treating her It's almost like she's been going around in this wheel doing all this wonderful work, and they want her to leave under disgrace. And I think it speaks volumes about how they see the issues and the achievements that we've made through forcing the law to change. I remember, if you think about how the Race Equality Act, how the act has changed over the years. Once before, they didn't exist an act. This, what he's doing is insulting generations of work, because before we had the first act, there was nothing there to protect how we may have received discriminatory behaviour towards us. I recently interviewed an elder for a project that I'm doing, looking and mapping the journey and the impact of our pioneers in this part of London, in this borough. And I was interviewing this elder, and you know, she's in her 70s. I'm not going to say her name. I'm sure she would want me to respect. You know, I think she was like 80s, late 70s, 80s. And what she shared with me was that when she was working as a nurse, and she came during the Windrush generation, well, 1961 actually, and she said to me that in her uniform, what they used to do when she used to work on the ward, they used to actually take the feces out of their bottoms and throw it at her. And she said her uniform was covered in feces sometimes. And she said the matron didn't share or demonstrate any care. It was a strict regime because they had to keep their uniform a certain way. She was told off and said, go to your room, because she lived on campus. Go to your room and change your uniform and get here. And while you was away, that time that you was out, it was deducted from your salary. And at that time, they were being paid £7 a week. And when you listen to our elders and those that have experienced, you know, we had we had our brothers, you know, with the Vauxhall, I think it was Vauxhall 5, we've had the Oval 3. We've had incidents, moments where we've been subjected to the sus law, you know, stop and search, and all those things throughout the year. They've called it different names throughout the years. But the issue that I'm getting at is that the Race Equality Act was there as a result of the blood and the sweat and tears and the murders and the exclusion and the oppression that we were experiencing. We were experiencing these things for years. There was no law to protect us. These people experienced this for years. There was this case, don't remember the man's name, I'll just quickly mention it. He went to a nightclub. His friends and him was going out. He was the only black person in the group. Anyway, he said to his friends that he would meet them at the club. He came with his girlfriend, who happened to be a white woman, and 2 other friends. And when he got to the door, he said they refused him entry. As a result of that, he complained to the local authority, who then tried to disregard it. But what happened was they offered him like £5 compensation, and he refused it. And at that time, £5 was enough money. They offered him some more money. He refused it. And the reason why he refused it, because he wanted it to go to court. In doing so, it had an impact and made it unlawful to discriminate against somebody because of their race if they're trying to access a public building. So when we think about every single achievement that we've made through the protection of the law, then to have it just decimated in one fell swoop, is a travesty and a disrespect to all of those who showed us that we stand on, who felt those discriminatory practices, was subject to those abuse, those nurses, you know, that was subject to abuse, those bus drivers, those pioneers that came, you know, and helped to build up this country after the Industrial Revolution, you know. It just makes me feel like, what have we're on this wheel, and now they want to reset the wheel, change things up. They just stop us in midstream and dash off who they want to dash off. And I feel like they want to dash away Diane Abbott and disrespect all the efforts and the work that has been achieved through our fight for racial justice. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with what you've said there. I mean, the disrespect that she has been experiencing, you know, throughout her years, her many years of service, you know, is it's a testimony to her strength that she is still there. I mean, they've just, you know, ridiculed her, you know, but absolutely with this particular incident, you know, he should not be allowed to get away with it. As you said, our parents fought hard and suffered long and hard for those race relation laws to be put in place. And now, race relation, we need to ensure that the Race Relations Act is enacted upon, and you know that they don't pick and choose.
Now it's the Equalities Act. Now it's the Equalities Act, and we have all those intersectionalities.
Yeah, well, we're still supposed to be protected, you know, under the law, and we need to ensure that this man who's violated, you know, that law is charged. That's what should happen. Be charged, arrested, and charged. You know, under the law, or, you know, any other criminal law that would deal with the situation. You know, and that's what the courts are supposed to be there for and to do. And this matter, as you say, sometimes we have to bring these test cases to court. Diane Abbott needs to bring this case to court as well. He's tried contacting her apparently to apologize. He put a statement on his, I think it's his, it's not Twitter, it's the Instagram account, where he says, statement regarding recent media reports. Frank Hester accepts that he was rude about Diane Abbott in a private meeting several years ago, but this criticism had nothing to do with her gender nor colour of skin. Come on, you've still got to do more. You've got to admit it. You've got to dig deeper. He had everything to do with her colour, and it had everything to do with
He said it.
Yeah.
He said it.
He said it.
He can't take it back.
Right.
He said it.
When he quotes Frank saying he abhors racism, not least because he experienced it as the third child of Irish immigrants in the 1970s. Oh, really? Because you got black hair, you know, you experienced discrimination. Come on now. He rang Diane Abbott twice today to try to apologize directly for the hurt. He recognizes that he's caused her hurt, for the hurt he caused her, and is deeply sorry for his remarks. He wishes to make it clear that he regards racism as a poison which has no place in public life. And racists should have no place in public life either. My gosh, sis, you're not going to believe the time. We are 7 minutes away.
Case in point, sis. Case in point. Did she not say, right, that Irish people do not experience the same level of racism as we do? He's now saying that he's an Irish person. Now, if he never if he never mention it, would we know?
No, we wouldn't have known. Not at all. You know, and so, you know, these are the lengths that some people are prepared to go to try and justify or to try and excuse, you know, their racist behavior. Face up to it, admit to it. You know, you said she makes you hate all black women. Why all black women are not all women if it wasn't a racial issue? You know, the fact that you said all black women, you know, is telling everybody that you're seeing black women. You're not just seeing us as women, but as black women. And it makes you, and you singled out black women as well. You didn't say all Indian women or Chinese women or white women. You said black women as a racial group. Face up to it. You know, that was a racist remark. And what you said was an incitement to racial hatred, and an incitement to racial violence. It was a very serious threat indeed, and you should be charged and arrested for it. You wanna compensate? Put some money into setting up our own Black political party. We can happily advise you after we've done our due diligence and scrutiny, which political organization we feel is worthy and deserving of leading and heading up that political party for Black people, to give us a voice so that, we can be heard, so that we can do the work that needs to be done, in the interest of Black people and harmony in this country. I just go to the chat for a couple more comments, because we are 5 minutes away now from the top of the hour. Time has whizzed by so quickly. I can't believe we've been here all hours. Yeah, Diane Abbott should be independent on her own. I don't trust George Galloway, who says, he talks a good talk, and that's what politicians and politicians do, isn't it? Talk a good talk. Sheriff S says Diane Abbott and Jeremy Corbyn need to join George Galloway if we cannot get it together as a Black political party. That's the best we can hope for, unless we organise. We've got to organise. There's groups out there who can organise us. Marcus Messiah Garvey showed us the way. We need to be emulating his words. A he-man in the house, he's saying, I'm just the messenger. I do not own truth. Truth always remains dim or something. Kwame, Sister Shanice, only our self-conscious Pan-African leaders should be involved. Exactly. If we're going to be determining, who our spokespeople are, they would have to most definitely be individuals who are African-centered, who are clear about their African culture, and see the world from an African-centered perspective. Otherwise, we don't need independent people speaking on our behalf, because, why would we need it? Anyway, we need a Malcolm, a Khalid, or a Garvey, right? But, lots of comments, family. I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We are coming round now to the top of the hour. Betty Jenkins says, I love my people. Speak truth to power always. Yes, indeed. Didi says, very true, Red Golden. We don't have a voice. This is it. We don't have a voice. We need a voice. Blue Zodiac says, Sister Jasanray, have to return to the panel next time. There you go, sis. My audience are loving you already. Give our sister some big ups and show us some love in the chat family, and someone says here, I've been trying to ring Diane Abbott. Is even more concerning. Can you imagine someone who says you should be shot calling you on your phone? For real, and
someone abusing you and coming back.
Yeah, and ringing you on your phone. He has your number. Oh, my days. Well, family, you've heard what we've had to say about this situation. As Black women, we are absolutely appalled and outraged, that he hasn't already been arrested, that he hasn't already been charged, and then the Speaker of the House, to hear that Diane stood on her feet 30 times and was ignored, and this is just adding injury to insult. He needs to be reprimanded and removed from that position as well. This is just too much insult. It's too much insult, and the potential harm ramifications of this, if it's not dealt with firmly, they know what it is. The media knows what it is. Their people know what time of day it is. They know what he said is outrageous, is illegal, and they're playing it down. It's inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. It doesn't matter that you gave money to the Tory party that now happens to be have a seat prime minister. That does not excuse your comments.
It doesn't exonerate him from being held accountable.
Doesn't exonerate you either. Absolutely not. My sis, let me give you. We're 1 minute away from the top of the hour. 30 seconds.
Right. Thank you so much for the invitation. Love to come back. And it's been absolutely inspiring and empowering, and power to the Black sisters. Power to the
Well,
African
definitely.
sisters.
Thank you
Power to
so
the
much.
African Caribbean sisters.
Thank you for responding to the invitation. Certainly
Thank
will be
you.
inviting you back. We can talk on topics, and at some point we'd love to hear your story and your journey growing up Black in Brisbane as well. So everyone in the chat who've been
Thank
in the
you.
audience, involved in the chat. Yeah, thank you so much for your interaction, for your comments, for sharing your views and opinions. Thank you so much. For the subscribers, thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe, and also remember to subscribe to my backup channel as well. I've had so many videos taken down. I've had 2 strikes already, 3 strikes. This channel's gone, but I've got a backup channel. Make sure you're subscribed to it so that you know where to find me. The backup channel is African World Affairs. African World Affairs. Please go there and register or subscribe rather. And as I said earlier, we've got our Black History Part 2 course coming up. Make sure that you check that one out. Go to gumroad.com and search for Sister Shanice, and information about Part 2 Black History Training course. We're revealing more of our hidden history in Britain. So go there and get the brochure and check it out. I've also got a freebie book that's coming up. I didn't get around to posting in the chat where you need to send your email to get a copy of that. But make a note, Starlight Global Books at yahoo.com. Starlight Global Books, light as a light bulb, Starlight Global Books at yahoo.com. Make sure you get registered so when the book's ready, you get your free copy. We will be back next Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. GMT, all being well. And at some point in the near future, all being well, we will be inviting Black, our sister, Just Sunray. It's been a pleasure having you, sis. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone in the audience and to everyone that's watching on the replay. Thank you so much. More strength, more power, more boodum energy to each and every one of you. Sister Shanice and Sister Just Sunray out of here.